Okay, here we are at Unit 19, Lesson number 3. It says that right up here in the corner. This is writing the actual expression. So it says read the problem below, then explore how to write the numerical expression. Numerical means number, so sometimes they call it a sentence, a number sentence or a word sentence. We're going to look at the numerical sentences, meaning we're going to look at numbers. Write the numerical expression to represent this phrase, 15 minus the sum of 6 plus 7. So you would draw your 15, your minus, and then the sum of 6 plus 7. The way that you could model this is you can think, okay, I've got 15. It says to minus. The sum means to add, so then your sum and you're adding, or you're adding your 6 and your 7. Now, I brought in our PEMDAS so that we can remember. PEMDAS means parentheses first, exponents, multiply and divide, add and subtract. And I'm going to bring in here a number sentence, 15 minus 6 plus 7, or 15 minus 6 plus 7. The difference is you have to know when to use parentheses, when not to use parentheses, and to be able to do them in the order that they are. So if you remember, I have said before that add and subtract are married. That means when you're doing a number sentence, you go straight across and you do whichever one comes first. So in this one, it would be 15 minus 6, which would be 9, plus 7. 9 plus 7 would be 16. So your answer over here would be 16. Now, if we do it the way that it says up here, the sum of 6 and 7 is 13. So 15 minus 13 is 2. That's what it's asking you to do. So this one right down here is the correct one. When it says the sum of something, put it in parentheses so that we know that that's what we have to do first. All right. Ooh, this is off. It's okay. That happens, and it's going to move. Ooh. I'm not even going to worry. Yes, I have to worry about it for a minute. There we go. Sorry about that. Number 9. In the expression 15 minus the sum of 6 and 7, do you add or subtract first? Well, I want to get my PEMDAS thing over here so I can remember. Parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide, add and subtract. So in that expression, 15 minus the sum of 6 and 7, do you add or subtract first? You must find the sum of 6 and 7 so that you can subtract it. So what would you do first? You would add. You would add the 6 and 7 first. When you write a numerical expression, how can you show what operations to do first? I hope you know this one now by putting it in parentheses. That always is going to tell you that you have to do that first. Number 11, write a numerical expression for 15 minus the sum of 6 and 7. Right there you go. 15 minus, and this says sum of 6 and 7. Now, number 12, Harper wrote the expression 15 minus 6 plus 7 to represent 15 minus the sum of 6 and 7. Evaluate 15 minus 6 plus 7, and then explain why Harper's expression is incorrect. 15 minus 6 would equal 9, then 9 plus 7 would equal 16. The sentence said that you had to subtract the sum of 6 and 7, so you have to add them first. She needs to put parentheses in her expression or we're not going to get the correct answer. Omar wrote 3 plus 4 times 6 to represent the phrase 3 more than the product of 4 plus 6. So when you think of this, our first thought is 3 more. So 3 more, that would be adding, then the product of 4 plus 6. So that, okay, so I'm looking at that, and that's what Omar wrote. Now the question is, did Omar need to use the grouping symbol? Did Omar need to use the parentheses? And the answer is no, he did not. Because order of operation tells us that we are going, oops, this was a multiply, wasn't it? Multiply. Get back to that. I wonder if I can, that was multiply, multiply, multiply. Okay, so order of operations says that we're going to multiply before we add. So did he really need to put those in there? No. Number 14, write a numerical expression to represent 2 times the difference of 8 plus 1. You should write it, and there it is. And then it says go ahead and evaluate. So when you evaluate, you should have gotten 14. Then it says write a number expression to represent 15 divided by the sum of 1 and 4. Then evaluate. So you should have written 15 divided by 1 plus 4. That needs to be in parentheses. The other way that you could write this, and we're not going to see this very often, but you could write it as a fraction. 15 divided by the sum of 1 plus 4. And when you actually do that, your answer is 3. Okay, now it's time to do your practice page. I'm again going to put the PEMDAS up there just so that it helps you understand that. Draw a picture to show what the word phrase in the example means. 12 plus the quotient of 8 and 4. What does the word quotient mean? The quotient means when we divide. So you can go back to the very first video and think that, or the first lesson today. I did 12 plus the quotient of 8 and 4, which means 8 divided by 4. So if I did 8 divided by 4, I can actually just divide 8 and draw my lines. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Each one's in groups of 2. So it would be 12 plus 2. So I would get 14. Suppose you wrote a numerical expression for the phrase 20 minus the product of 5 and 2. To evaluate the expression, should you subtract or multiply first? I like to make my equation and then I think, oh, I don't need parentheses on this one. Okay, because it says the product though, that's the best way to do it. So I would go in here because it wants you to. As far as I know, you're not going to be in trouble for putting that in there when you don't really need it, but because it says 20 minus the product. So even though the parentheses aren't there, you would do the same thing because you have to multiply before you subtract. Next page, write a number sentence to represent 20 minus the product of 5 and 2, and then evaluate your expression. Number 4, write an expression that represents the phrase 16 divided by the product of 4 and 4. Circle all that apply. That means you're going to have more than one. Write a number expression to represent 6 times the difference of 9 and 3. Then evaluate. Number 10, write a word phrase. So you're going to use words on this one to say what this means. And number 7, you're going to have one answer, and then you have to actually solve the answer. And by now, you know that the answer key is coming up next. So if you're not done, pause the video. There you are.